Welcome back to Let's Talk Adoption. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the podcast. I'm Kim King, and I am here with Heather Featherston. And today we have a topic that is very near and dear to both of our hearts. We're actually going to be talking about one of the podcast sponsors. If you're listening and you're interested in exploring more about becoming one of our sponsors, definitely email us. You can do so through letstalkadoption.com and send us a little about yourself and what you're thinking of as far as a sponsorship, and then perhaps we can have a little partnership there. But today, Heather, I know we want to talk about one of our sponsors, and maybe you can share a little bit more about one of our top sponsors here on the podcast.
Lifetime Adoption Foundation. And we really wanted to do a whole episode on the foundation to share a little bit about it, its mission, the work it does, and just really, I think a lot of people probably haven't heard of Lifetime Adoption Foundation, so I think it's great to get it out there. And I think probably a good place to start is understanding that it is a independent nonprofit. It's a 501c3 charity.
Yes.
And it really is focused on the people who are touched by adoption. Their mission centers on adoption education, which is great for anyone. It is also geared toward birth mothers in a number of different ways that I'm really excited to talk about. And then also there's some adoptive family grants that are good to know and understand. And I think it's also good to understand that it does not provide adoption services. It is simply a independent nonprofit charity that all of the donations go toward furthering their programs, furthering their missions.
Yes, and you can read up on the foundation at lifetimefoundation.org and learn a little bit more about how you can help. And we might touch on a couple of those things and provide some links on the show notes page on letstalkadoption.com. But first, Heather, why don't we talk about one of my favorite things about the foundation, supporting birth moms.
Yes.
How does the foundation support birth mothers?
Well, really, I think where it started, which is really still its key mission, is to support birth mothers who have placed a child for adoption through educational scholarships. Much in the way they have provided for their child through choosing adoption, the foundation is able to help them further their education, their careers, and it provides scholarships through I think they meet twice a year in award scholarships, and those scholarships can go to college classes, they can go to vocational training, career certificates, even GED programs. So there's really a wide variety of opportunities out there, and I think it really focuses on empowerment, helping moms who have made a selfless decision, help them build their future, build their opportunities. I think it also is so important to recognize birth mothers as individuals. It's not a group of people, a category of people, but when you're apply for something as an individual and are awarded something as an individual, it really shows that, somebody is behind you. Somebody is supporting your goals beyond adoption, separate from adoption. And there are requirements such as, I think there's a minimum GPA requirement. There is a requirement that you certify you're drug-free. I do know that if anyone is interested in applying, if you are a birth mother, certainly the application and process is there on the website, lifetimefoundation.org. And they have provided educational scholarships for over 20 years now, I believe.
I was just looking through the one of the pages where there's a few quotes from Birth
Hmm.
Moms scholarship recipients. And this is one that says from Anne. She's a birth mother and scholarship applicant, or I'm sure recipient. It
Hmm.
says, "Thank you for offering such a wonderful scholarship. It is wonderful to see an organization that recognizes what birth mothers experience and is dedicated to helping them achieve their goals. Finding
Hmm.
your website was certainly a blessing when I was searching for options." So, and there are a
Hmm.
few more, throughout the website that you can see, and hear
Hmm.
from the women that have been touched by these scholarships, and that support means so much to them. Um, it's another way that we can combat that feeling that I'm unseen, unforgotten, irrelevant now that my baby was born.
Right, right,
And I really love
absolutely.
that.
And one of the interesting things is the impact from those scholarships. And that's why I love that they post the messages on the website, because you can really see and read firsthand the impact of those that help, what that has provided for the recipients of the scholarships.
And
So,
I can just imagine, if you're a woman out there that's trying to reach your goals and you don't really have a lot of family support, and then you come
mhm,
across something that's uniquely connected to you, a birth
mhm,
mother scholarship. Wow. You know,
right,
I I think that's something to really get excited about.
right.
Yeah.
So another way the foundation helps birth mothers is stability, providing help with the things someone may need as they're considering their options. Things like maternity clothes, uh, the toiletries. I know at one time when flat rate shipping was low, they would ship out boxes of food. Now I think they provide gift cards as that is needed. But really trying to ensure that a woman who is considering adoption can make the decision from a place of stability. And because they don't provide direct adoption services, it's just help. It's
Mhm.
just help because you know we want, I mean, the decision to place a child for adoption is a lifelong decision, and it needs to be made out of a place of stability, not a place of crisis. Certainly there's crisis involved. I'm not ignoring that at all, but you need to have food. You need to have the basics so that your nervous system is calmed down enough to make a decision that that you can live with. And so that's so important that that stability is provided when needed as well.
A couple of examples of things that kind of have touched me over the years that I know the foundation has done is sending out school supplies for other children
Hmm.
that she was already and continuing to parent,
Hmm.
because we can't forget that a birth mom who chooses adoption is not always choosing adoption for her very first pregnancy or baby.
Right.
Often it's a big part of, her whole life circumstance, and that she's already parenting one or two or more children. And so the fact that the foundation would send out, school supplies for her other children that she's
Hmm.
already parenting, or even sometimes the foundation has gotten requests from birth moms through the years where it's a really hard Christmas, and
Right.
they were able to send out a couple of gifts for the children that she is parenting. And so those are just really things that I think really feel like a light in a dark moment that she might be walking through.
Definitely. Another way that the foundation really is focused is adoption education. I mean, Kim, we've talked on previous episodes so much about myths in adoption and misinformation and what people think. The foundation really has a heavy focus on education for birth parents or prospective birth parents, for adoptive parents, even for communities who are seeking accurate adoption information. They try to get information out there. And they do that to try to reduce. misinformation, and also reduce unrealistic expectations, which can happen in any part of the adoption triad. And what this does is it really supports healthier, I think more informed adoption awareness. And I think that that word awareness is so important because we have November, which is National Adoption Awareness Month, which is great, but you know adoption awareness is something that has to go on year round. Someone has to be putting that information out there. Many states now have started requiring adoption awareness in school, which is awesome. But it's still um, it still is a conversation that needs to be happening every day because there is still so many myths that are believed and misinformation that is perpetuated. So again, that's one thing that Lifetime Foundation really tries to focus on is that education aspect of adoption awareness.
And one of the ways that they do that is through sponsoring Let's Talk Adoption, the podcast, because
That's right.
we're very much aligned in that the passion for adoption education.
Mhm,
And, that actually is something that really trickles down for a lifetime to impact the adoptee. The more
mhm,
educated, informed, and empowered the adults were in the scenario or the decision makers in the scenario, such as the placing parents, such as the adopting parents, even adoption professionals, then that all benefits the adoptee for a lifetime and prevents a lot of the trauma that's really unnecessary in a time like ours where we do have access to so much information, such as through this podcast and so
mhm.
many other resources that parents, professionals, and placing parents have access to get really informed about best practice and
Mhm.
studies and all the things that we do with the child's best interest in mind.
Right.
Hmm.
Absolutely. So another area that Lifetime Adoption Foundation has focused on is grants for parents who are adopting. This is something that they often have provided to difficult to place children, children with medical needs, to try to help offset the costs that are related with adoption, to try to help reduce those financial barriers, especially for hard to place children,
Hmm.
in hopes that it will relieve some of that burden so that the adoptive parents can focus a little more on the connection and the child's needs rather than having to worry about finances. We've had some great partnerships in the past where people have partnered with the foundation in order to raise funds. We had gentleman who partnered a few years ago with Ride for Life, and the foundation was able to provide Ride for Life adoption scholarships, adoption grants, excuse me, which was one of the things that they were able to do. So there are adoption grants out there that they also try to contribute as needed as well, which if you have adopted, especially a child who did have extra needs, how very valuable that financial assistance can be.
Hmm. Absolutely. And if you're praying about, your charitable giving, I know the
Hmm.
foundation sometimes receives checks out of the blue where
Uh-huh.
it's like, there's a little note that said the Lord just told me to send this
Hmm.
to help birth moms or to help
Hmm.
adoptive parents. And I
Hmm.
think that's incredible, especially in today's world of just so much noise that someone's like, oh, I feel the Lord telling me to
Hmm.
help support in this specific way, or that they were given a gift, maybe a financial sum, and they said, how can I use this to make a difference in the world?
Right,
My needs are met already. How can I help shine the light into some areas of people's lives where maybe it's not so full of light for them? I
right.
love that.
And I do know that, we talk about ripple effects that
Hmm.
one gift or one life or one impact can make. And certainly, I think that's something that Lifetime Adoption Foundation has demonstrated, mostly in regards to their getting back to the birth mother scholarships. They have shared stories of women who have chosen to go into fields like social work or nursing because someone touched them during the adoption process, whether it was their social worker, their caseworker, maybe it was someone in the hospital facility. And because of that experience, they have chosen that as their career path in order to help women who they themselves were in the same position at one time. And it can mean so much to any of us to have someone say, yeah, I'm behind you, I support you, but when that financial support comes through, that's putting your money where your mouth is, and that means so much. And from what I've reviewed, from the notes I've seen on their website, you can tell that these gifts, these support, these scholarships have made a real difference in these women's lives.
I want to take a moment to share something really meaningful, especially for those of you walking through the journey of adoption or supporting someone who is. It's called the Adoption Prayer Bracelet, and it's more than just a thoughtful piece of jewelry. It's a way to stay centered and intentional in prayer, whether you're hoping to adopt, supporting someone who is, or simply lifting up adoption in your daily life. I've given them as gifts and I've worn one myself. They're a gentle reminder to lift up birth parents, adoptive families, and the children at the heart of it all. You can learn more or order one at adoptionprayerbracelet.com. Heather, what are some ways that our listeners can um, support the
Sure,
foundation?
sure. Definitely, because it is a 501c3 charity, any financial gifts are tax deductible. I believe I've seen on the website, you can also give gifts of stock, um, property, vehicles. Any financial donation will go directly to helping support their programs. They have a Amazon wish list. I know that is one of the ways that they are able to um, receive the items that they can provide to birth parents who are looking for that stability as they're evaluating their pregnancy options or evaluating the decision to make an adoption decision. There are a few different fundraisers I know that they have ongoing through the year. One of them is they have adoption bracelets
Mm-hmm.
that are very attractive, one of a kind. You can buy those throughout the year. And again, the funds for all of their fundraisers go directly to the program, but the adoption bracelets is one. Also make a lovely gift for anyone you know who is connected to adoption in any way. And then they also have a really kind of unique treasures in a bag fundraiser as well, which is you have to go check it out. It's you can get there through the website or you can go to treasuresinabag.com, and it is something that would be great fun for people of any age, but I think especially if you do have kids or homeschoolers and want something to do, that is a really unique fundraiser that the founder put together because of her hobbies and interests.
Mm-hmm.
But every contribution helps fund the scholarships, helps fund the stability. That's called their Birth Mother Blessings program, which is a fun name for it. It helps provide the education, helps provide adoptive family grants. But yeah, Kim, on their website under, I just have it pulled up here,
Ways to help, I think.
Ways to Help,
Yes.
lifetimefoundation.org. There's
Mm-hmm.
a variety of ways to help support. And you know, I believe if you want to donate financially, you can specify if you want your gift to go to scholarships or adoptive family grants, or if you want to partner with them, like the gentleman did for the Ride for Life adoption grants. It's just a way to really help support adoption in a tangible way that truly touches people's lives one on one.
Yes. And I was just perusing through the Amazon wish list. I
Hmm.
recommend if you go to lifetimefoundation.org and you click ways to help and you're curious about the Amazon wish list. Now, we'll also link that Amazon wish list page
Hmm.
directly on the show notes too.
Hmm.
But it's neat to see the thought that's gone into some of the items that you can order and that are going to be shipped. You don't have to worry about shipping. That's the way that wish lists work. They go directly to the foundation, and then the foundation can replenish their stock of items for care packages for birth moms. And those care packages really mean a lot to birth moms, especially as she's maybe preparing to go to the hospital and she doesn't have access or the
Hmm.
resources to get a lot of the things that women would historically bring,
Hmm.
such as some socks to wear in the hospital, some slippers. There are a lot of moisturizing things like hand lotions, lip balms, because, going through labor and delivery, these make sense. And I do see here something on here that might not make a lot of sense to people, but a package of Jolly Rancher candy. Now, why is that on there? How is that used, Heather?
Often when moms are in labor, they're not, you don't eat while you're in labor, but you might suck on hard candy.
Hmm.
And that's what that's for. Another item like that on there is chewing gum. Same thing, you may not always have opportunity to brush your teeth, but you can grab a piece of chewing gum.
Hmm.
So, it's just a number of items on there again to help and support women in depending on where they're at in their adoption decision.
Yeah, I love that. I think that list is so well thought out. And so definitely go there, add an item or two if it's on your heart and you just want to, you know, like people always say, whether your gift or contribution or help is small or large, it all matters and it all
Mhm.
makes a difference. Imagine that, you order something on an Amazon wish list, a couple of clicks, you don't even notice the difference in your, account maybe if it's like a $20 item. And then
Mhm.
that actually goes into the hands of a birth mother.
Mhm.
I really love that. And you can be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
And really the same is true with the donations for scholarships.
Yes.
Every dollar donated to that turns around and goes to um, a mom who has not just qualified and been awarded it, but who is putting the work in to make her life better after she made that selfless decision to provide a better life for her child.
Hmm.
And I mean, you just cannot underestimate or it's just an amazing way to give back.
Hmm. Another thing that you can do and that you can contribute is what Heather shared about the bracelets.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
adoption bracelets. Now, those are something that you don't send to a birth mom necessarily, although it'd be a touching gift and an appropriate
Mhm.
gift for a birth mother that you might be thinking of years later, or even as you may be adoptive parents yourselves
Mhm.
and you want to get an adoption bracelet for yourself and one for your child's birth mother.
Mhm.
You might do something like that. But if you know someone that is going through an adoption path or has been personally touched by adoption. The bracelet is a beautiful, thoughtful, very personal gift you can
Mhm.
order and gift to someone. And, every time you look down at that bracelet, you can remember to pray
Mhm.
over adoption and pray over all the people who are involved. And that was really the intention of the founder in designing those adoption bracelets in the
Mhm.
beginning.
And if nothing else, one thing you can do is share the word, spread the
Hmm.
word about Lifetime Adoption Foundation. Go to the website, check it out, then, share it on your social media. Share about adoption awareness because that really is, I think, so much the heart of their adoption education mission is just making sure that adoption is still in the conversation today and that it is reflected accurately.
Hmm. And if I can just harp on those bracelets a little more, if you're wearing your bracelet out in public, it's a
There you
great
go.
conversation starter. You know,
Definitely.
let's say you're out at an event and you're at one of those tables where you're sitting with like 8 or 10 other people that you don't know them, and you can just, here's my bracelet. Look how pretty it is. I'm admiring my bracelet. And someone might say, oh, that's a pretty bracelet. And now you have an opening to help spread awareness about adoption and share as much as you'd like or a little, and then point them to the foundation as well. I think that would be a great thing to do. So,
Definitely.
Heather, thank you for joining me today again for another
Oh,
episode of Let's Talk Adoption. As always, we welcome listener feedback, listener ideas. And again, if you want to help be a sponsor of the podcast, reach out to us. Our contact is at letstalkadoption.com. Thanks for joining us on Let's Talk Adoption. If you'd like to learn more about today's episode, please visit letstalkadoption.com. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Until next time, take care and God bless.